Yesterday, we went through all the public works of Eduardo Chillida in order to show the wide variety of works he has done in places and he has occupied with his art and the development of this aesthetic in relation with the environment. But today I would like to focus more in the social dimension of Chillida's work. And the social dimensions of Chillida's works fluctuate in two ways, two clearly differentiated ways. On the one side, his public monuments, works belonging to the citizens, and on another, his facet that is closer to the world of a graphic designer, materialized in the production of logos, anagrams, and posters, and designed for various causes, organizations, and institutions. Public works transcend the work of art when they call for a direct relationship with the urban and natural landscapes, but they also acquire a social dimension because they have ethical connotations, while in his designs and drawings related to issues like the protection of civil liberties, Chillida penetrates the collective imaginary. And this is very important because all the logos, the anagrams that Chillida has created are nowadays part of our collective imaginary in the Basque Country, but not only in the Basque Country, because it's a very universal language, the language he uses. Relating his public monuments, Chillida has dedicated many sculptures, as we saw yesterday, to concepts related to the human values, titles as Gate of Freedom, Arc of Freedom, Dialogue Tolerance, Field Space of Peace. I'm saying the names in English. Chillida didn't want it to do it, but I think it's important right now to say it in English. We saw also the Cage of Freedom, this big homage to tolerance in Seville. All these sculptures are a clear example of his civic and social commitment and are a reflection to the idea the artist has of promoting the creation of an art that transcends the individual to reach to the collective, beyond the concepts implied in his works as the matters of lightness, gravity, density, space and void that we already saw yesterday. Chillida's work carries an intrinsic moral content. In this moral content expands in two ways. On the one hand, in the construction of a local identity, of an imaginary and aesthetic forms related to his territory, to his land, to the Basque Country, and on the other to the collective ideas to be aware of their universality. And this leads him to incorporate collective ideals such as freedom, peace, and tolerance. Chosen some of the works that we already saw yesterday, but I will focus on the construction of an identity and the idea of construction also of a place for encounter, but a place for the collectivity. And I will focus also in these marks, the landmarks, and on the aesthetic of his work, which is quite new, of course, but now it seems that it belongs to anybody, and it seems that it belongs to the Basque Country. We will see later the logos and everything, but it's important to understand that in a certain point in the Basque Country in the 70s, artists were creating also an image of country, an image of the Basque Country. You have to imagine after 40 years of dictatorship, all the artists were committed to create a new imaginary of this country. And one of the examples we saw yesterday is, of course, the Comb of the Wind is certainly one of the most important work of the Basque sculpture, and it's a great monumental complex composed by these three colossal sculptures. But the starting point was this place, and we can really feel this relationship with the landscape, with the environment, with the city, and with the natural elements. But one of the important things in this sculpture is that during the process, the artist wanted to integrate, during the process of construction of the Comb of the Wind, he wanted to integrate urbanists, architects, sculptors, poets, musicians, writers, to think about the place and to reflect on what a city must be. It had to be a way to think about the philosophy regarding the city. And this was very important because it was not only the work of Chillida, of course it was his imaginary, but it involved a lot of people from different fields, which I think makes it more richer. So The Comb of the Wind was born also as a homage to his people. They invited Chillida to have an exhibition in San Sebastian, and he decided he wouldn't do the exhibition. He would do a sculpture for the people of San Sebastian and to the Basque people, to his hometown San Sebastian. So The Comb of the Wind leads us to the concept of scale, a very significant concept for Chillida. The scale and the dimension of the work must be in balance with the environment, with the size of the place, and with what is around. The size depends on the situation, the dimensions of the place, and the scale of Chillida is always a human scale. That is important also. Another important concept is the human scale. Even if in the smallest works, Chillida will always use the human scale. And we, the spectators, are in the center of his works. It must be in communication with the visitor, always. And on the other hand, all the public works of Chillida are the idea of the artist that the visitors are the owners of the work. We are all owners of the work of art because we can all see the work of art. It's the idea of the public work. It belongs to anyone and it belongs to no one. The other protagonist that we mentioned yesterday also was Luis Peña-Gancheri, and the idea of Luis Peña-Gancheri was also to create a place, a temenos, like in the Greek temples. It is a place for contemplation. They built the square with red granite paving stones, and the space is staggered on various levels that give a sense of a balance, and it makes it possible to enjoy both the work and the nature. And today it's a place for encounter, it's a place for meditation, and it's a place where we can go and observe the sea, the sky, the mountains, all the elements in coordination. We have different pictures of the place. When there is a stormy day, you can see, especially if there is a high tide, the waves can fill the space with water. And it's an amazing spectacular. The Comb of the Wind was done in 1977, finally, after the dictatorship. And he had time to think about it, 20 years, until he created this space. And some years later, the relation between the architect and Eduardo Chillida, the sculptor, they continue working together in another project. It was the project for the city of Gasteiz. They asked the architect and the sculptor to create a place, a monument to the fueros, and there I have to explain what the fueros are for you, because in the Basque Country we have these special laws that comes from the Middle Ages, and there are certain privileges. They asked Chillida to create a sculpture, a monument, to the Basque ancient laws, to the fueros. When he saw the place, this place, it was the old market of the Mercado de Abastos, the old market of Gasteiz. And when they saw it, he won't do only one sculpture. He will work with the whole space. They were persuaded that they needed to create an intervention in the whole space where the ancient market was, and they renew it, they reshape, and they resignify the whole square. As you can see here, seen from above, the square reminds to the drawings and graphics of Chillida. Now, if we can abstract them, and we can imagine that the forms should be on black, and the other can be the white, like in the graphic work that we will see some designs later, and some graphic designs of Eduardo Chillida. So Chillida and Gancheri became active social designers, shaping a participatory space. And in the inner space, we can find the stele of steel which symbolizes the Basque laws. Chillida wrote, "The fueros are something one has to defend. So what did I therefore do? A castle to defend them." Here we can see this stele. Finally, the work consists of a large planar fronton wall, a rectangular architectural fragment, a court for the bolatoki. Maybe we can explain it later, but it was a play for balls, a place for the ancient Basque oxen races, which is a rural sport also, a subterranean bowling alley, a small amphitheater that you can see there, and after that, of course, the labyrinth. The labyrinth which leads to the curtain steel sculpture that we have seen there. Chillida and Gancheri thought about some stairs that lead to the downwards between the stone pylons to a depth of 4 meters to a chamber open to the sky and to the core of the whole complex. As you can see, there is no roof there, it's open. In the interior of this space, which is like a sort of chapel, a sort of niche, a sort of place for spirituality that you for an encounter direct with this sculpture made on steel, and this sculpture symbolizes the fueros, well, the Basque laws. It's like a sacred space, and it remembers us also to the idea of a tree, the tree that symbolizes also the Basque laws, which is an oak tree, which is in Guernica. We will see later the sculpture of Guernica, but it can be a metaphor of this tree, and it can be also a fist or a hand, like trying to fight and to defend, no? Because it's like a kind of castle, no? Which means that he has to defend the ancient laws. And this tree in Guernica, surely know, is the symbol of the world of the horror of an aerial bombing that was memorialized by Picasso in his famous painting. The tree remains as the symbol of a liberty for the Basque people. And we are going to another, directly to Guernica. So this sculpture is placed in Guernica, a big architectural sculpture with a window, and through the windows, through the openness, we can see the tree, the famous oak, that symbolizes these Basque laws. And this it's a symbol also of the Basque self-assertment, and was created by Chillida as it was a profane chapel also. Chillida designed these 2 works, and it was joined in a sort of semicircle, and he created this open window directly to the view of this old oak of Guernica. It was also related, Cosme Barañano wrote this, and it was he said that the sculpture looks like a ship looking to the future, because Chillida was always looking also to the future, and it's in a certain point the way he would like to see his country looking to the future. It's quite strange also because in this sculpture Chillida mixes 3 materials. No, the pavement, which is created in granite stones, the steels, which is made on steel, and the big sculpture made of concrete. And another great place for encounter, a meeting place for the people, for everybody, is this Eulogy to the Horizon. It's the most unusual, the most monumental, a great concrete work which embraces the ocean, the horizon, and the city of Gijón in the north of Spain. And it's like a temple. It's a place that a single human can experience this relation with the cosmos. And it's also a place for encounter. But we already talked about it yesterday, about the way that Chillida created these places. This place is also to contemplate the horizon and to put us in relation with something that is bigger than us. And this work shows also Chillida as a humanist who believes mankind to be capable to opening up to the world also. And another great project that we saw yesterday It's the project of Tindaya, the empty mountain. Chillida wanted to carve a giant space in the center of the mountain as a chapel, as a place for spirituality, for encounter, a meeting point with the cosmos, with the voice, with the sea, and with the horizon. The project wasn't finally realized, but I would like to use Chillida's own works to explain his idea and feeling about the monument, because he will explain it much better than I will do. It's a statement that he sent to the press in July 96. Years ago, I had an intuition, which I sincerely believed was utopian, to create an interior space within a mountain which could offer itself to men of all races and colors, a great sculpture for tolerance. One day the possibility of creating this sculpture arose in Tindaya, in Fuerteventura, the mountain where utopia could become reality. This sculpture will help to protect the sacred mountain. The large space created within it will not be visible from the outside, but the men, and I will add women, who entered into its heart will see the light of the sun and the moon from within a mountain, spilling out to the sea and to the unreachable, necessary, non-existent horizon. The idea of this project of Tindaya was really a place where we can feel small in front of the space, in front of the horizon, in front of the cosmos. This is the mountain of Tindaya, and imagining this huge space of 50 meters high in the center of the mountain, 50 meters high, which is the perfect proportion. If it was bigger, we would get lost inside of the mountain. And now, completely different, but in the same way, because as I mentioned at the beginning of my talk, Chillida was also a graphic designer, a great graphic designer, I will say, because his designs are very, very powerful. He will always use two colors, black and white. He will never use other colors. It's the dialogue between matter and space, between black and white. It is the easier way to communicate what he wanted to communicate. I will say that the artist's presence in the public sphere is also permeable in the collective imagination through his designs and drawings related to fundamental issues such as the protection of the civil liberties, particularly at the end of the 70s, coinciding with the end of the dictatorship and the beginning of democracy in a context of social change. Chillida was very active in this field. His designs against the construction of the nuclear power station in Deva, in support of the first pro-amnesty managers, or calling for the creation of a Basque public university, offer a testimony of an artist of his time, actively committed and concerned about the events taking place around him. This activity will extend beyond his immediate surroundings to respond to commissions from international organizations. Through his graphics, Chillida has left an undeniable mark and is a fundamental reference and a source of inspiration in the field of design. So now we will see some of these designs. This one is the first that I have mentioned against the construction of this nuclear power station in Deva. This is the one he did or he created for the Basque University. It's like a tree open. It's the tree of the science, in fact. And here it's the same logo, but it's the first thing he created. It was a sticker. It was a moment of demonstration. It was a moment of social change, and he was implicated in all what it was doing or regarding all the problems at this time in the Basque country. It was the same for the amnesty. You have to think that during the dictatorship, many people who was in prison, and Chillida was one of the creators of the first who fight for the liberties of the Basque political prisoners, and he created the logo for the movement of the amnesty. So here you can see a poster with his logo, and here a sticker also where you can read amnistia, so it's amnesty, and askatasuna, which means freedom or liberty in Basque. In the same way, he will continue asking commitments from other organizations. Here we have also a poster that he created for Amnesty International. You can read in Spanish, Derechos Humanos Ya, Human Rights. I haven't got all the examples here, but it's just only 3 examples, as you can see how important it was and how powerful were these kind of designs. And this one was Para el Hombre por los Derechos Humanos, for men and for human rights. And in conclusion, Chillida has left a sober and powerful language that is distinguished by the use of a very personal plastic lexicon, the balance between matter and space, and a dynamic arrangement of forms based on an organic geometry that transcends personal limits. And thank you very much.
Ευχαριστώ.